You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hey there, welcome to episode 221 of the Soul Forge podcast.
Welcome to the Soul Forge, a place of silent mystery, quiet contemplation, and outright mayhem. Join your host, Shawn as he guides you through the adventures of living. Together, we'll talk about life and love, sex and dating, joy and heartache, memories and loss, and so much more. Don't worry, it's not nearly as pretentious as it sounds. Get ready for life, the universe, and everything on the Soul Forge.
Hey everybody, it's Shawn back at you with episode 221 of the Soul Forge podcast, which I just said a moment ago. But guess what? I don't know, I got nothing. Let's just get into the show. How are you guys and girls out there in podcast land? Hope everybody's wonderful. I feel like I'm in a bit of a hyper high-pitched mood. I don't know what's going on, but we'll talk about that too. Possible reasons, possible causes. I'll try not to stumble over my words because I don't really feel like editing too much of this right now or later or whatever. So, first thing I wanted to do was thank Bill for his recent feedback via email. He sent an email to the email address, obviously, which is soulforgepodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that's soulforgepodcast@gmail.com. And like I've said before, it's very much appreciated when I get feedback. So if any of you other people out there listening right now would like to send feedback, I would be so happy and delighted to see what you have to say. I was going to say hear what you have to say, but no, I'll be seeing it because I'll be reading the email that you're going to send, because you're going to pause this right now and send a quick email so you don't forget. I'll wait. Okay, and we're back. Okay, so I've got a few things that we need to talk about, or I need to talk about. You just have to listen. So sit back and relax and enjoy, or if you're not sitting, if you're driving, well, you're still sitting, but don't relax too much because you got to pay attention to the road. But if you're walking along the road with the dog, then walk along with whatever you're doing. I don't even know what I'm talking about. What's wrong with me tonight? Am I on drugs? Am I high? I don't think I am. I hope not. Okay, so I guess the reason that I'm in a weird mood is because yesterday was Monday the 27th of September and I got my trial CPAP machine. Oh boy, let's talk about that. So CPAP stands for, I believe, continuous pressure air passage or something. I don't know. I could look it up, but all my equipment's upstairs, so I can't. But basically what it does, it helps you sleep. Because as the instructional video that I was forced to watch at the clinic yesterday told me, basically what happens is when you sleep, your airways and your muscles relax, and that can prevent air from going down your throat or whatever it does. And so then you snort and snore and wake up briefly. Now you don't know that you've woken up briefly, but your brain wakes you up for a microsecond so you can breathe, and the cycle starts all over again. And this happens to 20% of people. Approximately 13% have a mild case and 7% have a severe case. And I'm in the mild case, luckily. I didn't want to be in the 20% at all, but here we are. And this might explain why I have been see? There you go again, just stumbling over my words, and I'm not even going to edit that out. So, my entire life, I have never woken up refreshed. I've always been tired. And I went to my doctor a few months back, and I was actually complaining about the fact that, how do I explain this? Whenever I do physical labor, like shoveling snow or pulling a cord to start a lawnmower or a snowblower or something like that, digging a hole, whatever, anytime I'm using my upper body for physical activity, I'm out of breath and I feel like an 80-year-old man about to have a heart attack. And it's always, well, I don't know if it's always been that way, but it's been that way for the last few years. And there's no explanation for it because I'm a mailman and I walk 3 to 4 hours a day. No problem. Not out of breath. It's perfectly fine. The only time I get out of breath is when I do a walk and talk episode because I'm talking and walking and delivering the mail. But other than that, I could walk and walk and walk, no problem. But whenever I do physical activity, more than 5 minutes, I'm huffing and puffing like the big bad wolf. And the doctor ran all kinds of tests, ultrasounds and x-rays and you name it. And there doesn't seem to be a cause for it. So because I can often get irritable quickly, he said, well, let's send you to the sleep lab. So they sent me to the sleep lab. I think I did a whole episode about that a while back. Wired and Tired, I think it was called. So anyway, I finally got the results, and the wake-up incidences, normal people have 5 or less an hour, and when I was at the clinic, apparently I had 9 an hour, unless I slept on my back, and I was up to 29 per hour. So they recommended I do a trial for the CPAP thing that is all the rage, and surprisingly, a lot of people I know have these machines. So anyway, I got the machine yesterday, tried it for the first time last night, and put it on about 9:45. I was tired, so I needed to go to bed, and put it on and turned it on, and it's like almost like a full face mask. It covers my from the top of the bridge of my nose to my chin. It doesn't cover my eyes or anything like that, and it's all strapped on, and there's a tube and all kinds of fun stuff. Enough tubes so that you can turn over and not pull the machine off the table or whatever. So put it on. I think it took me about a half an hour to fall asleep, and then a while later I woke up and I was like, I must have slept for like 6 hours. So I checked the phone to see what the time was, and it was only 11:37. I'm like, oh wow, okay, this is stupid. So I eventually fell back to sleep, woke up at like 2:30 because the mask wasn't quite fitting on my face, and air was leaking out the side, and it was just awful. So I readjusted it and fell back to sleep and got up again about 5 o'clock, and I'm like, that's enough of this crap. I turned it off and kind of laid there till 6:30 when I had to get up. So did I wake up feeling refreshed and energized? Not too much, I don't think. Although you wouldn't know that from... Oh, see, there's the yawn. Oh, sorry, guys and girls. Anyway, yeah, you wouldn't know that from my motor mouth right now. So anyway, she said some people take to it right away, but it can often take up to 2 weeks or so
2 weeks
to get used to the machine. So we'll see if I get used to the machine. That's what's going on there. That's my CPAP story for you out there in podcast land. And yeah, I don't really have too much more to say about that right now. I just have to get used to it. I have to figure out how to strap it up to my face so that it's actually comfortable and whatnot. So we'll see how that goes. And maybe eventually I'll wake up and actually feel like I slept and am refreshed, which would be a novelty because that has never happened to me as far back as I can remember. So there we go. Okay, I'm going to take a break and pause for station identification. Let's do the vaccine promo.
Welcome to Dr. Geek's Laboratory.
Dr. Geek here with another reminder that the ESO Network is pro-science and pro-vaccine. We urge you to be a superhero and protect yourself, your family, and your fellow geeks around the world. Don't be fooled by the forces of evil and their anti-science misinformation campaign. Consult the latest CDC guidelines, your doctor, and get the COVID vaccine today.
Okay, how was that? Was that fantastic? Did you like that? Was that good? All right, I hope so. Okay, what else do I want to talk about? Let's talk about what is happening this coming weekend. October 2nd and 3rd in Sault Ste. Marie, where I was born and raised. Vintage Games and Junk is going to have, I think it's the 3rd NerdCon. There would have been one last year, but of course COVID. So what this is, it's a 2-day event. I'm only going to be there the Saturday though, because I have to travel back home here to Timmins on the Sunday. But Brother Robin purchased us a table so we can sell our wares. And as you all know, I have that Etsy shop, and I've been selling a few things a week for the last 3 months. But I've spent the past few days packing up about 4 totes of random goodies. I've got a few other pieces that don't fit in totes because they're too big, and I'm going to travel to the Sioux. Oh, see, I'm yawning again. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me. Should I edit that out? I'm not going to. But if you want me to edit out future yawns, once again, that email address is soulforgepodcast@gmail.com. So yeah, going to NerdCon, going to sell some stuff and visit some family and friends and whatever. Going to probably leave Thursday, come back Sunday. Actually, Thursday is a holiday here in Canada for federal employees. It's called the Truth and Reconciliation Day. Basically, as many of you know, I think I've talked about this in a previous episode, the Catholic Church ran some residential schools for Indigenous people, natives, or Indians, if we're going to use the colloquial, non-politically correct term that we all used back in the day. But anyway, they abused and killed all kinds of children. So the government, in its wisdom, decided, well, let's make September 30th a federal holiday. And basically I heard some people joking, saying that, we get the day off because our ancestors killed their ancestors, which kind of makes no sense, really, but neither here nor there. I have Thursday off because of that, and so I'm going to head back to the Sioux on Thursday. I have to call in sick or use a personal day on Friday. I was going to leave Friday after work, but then I wouldn't get into town till like 7 or 8 at night, and it's dark, and then I have to set up in the morning on Saturday, and then go back Sunday. So I'm going to take my time. That's what personal days are for. I don't hardly ever use them, so there we go. So I'm going to try to make some money and get rid of some of my collection, as I've been trying to do for the last 4 or 5 years. And it should be a lot of fun. I'll get to see all kinds of people. Oh my God, I'm yawning again. Oh, I never yawn during the podcast. I don't know what's happening. So yeah, anyway, NerdCon should be fun, should be exciting. Hopefully I'll sell a bunch of stuff. Guaranteed I'll tell you about that in an upcoming episode. I'm hoping to do several podcasts with as many different people as I possibly can. Maybe I won't do any, but I'm going to bring my recording equipment anyway, just in case there's time, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, that's what's happening. And before we move on, let's play this promo for the Nerd Bliss podcast.
Of the myriad pop culture podcasts, there is one that blends in with them all, flying under the radar, nagging at you at a subconscious level. Nerd Bliss, where 4 hosts from the Deep South and anyone that can get to appear for store brand coffee and corn nuts talk about science fiction, pop culture, current affairs, and more. You can find us at nerdblisspodcast.com or on the ESO network. Nerd Bliss. It's one word.
Wasn't that a beautiful podcast? Oh, if you're not checking that out, why not? Because it is awesome. Anyway, back to what I wanted to talk about. There's one more thing, speaking of NerdCon and collectibles and selling and buying and whatever. My buddy Ian today at work sent me a link to a statue that I /want. Maybe not. As you know, I've been trying to get rid of my stuff, but there's still a few things that I like to collect, like specific Star Trek things and Thundercat stuff and a few other random pieces and odds and ends. And so he sent me this link here. I'm just on the SideShow.com website. It's the Captain PICARD 1:3 scale statue by Darkside Collectibles Studio, limited edition to 150 scale museum statue. Oh boy. And it should be released maybe between October and December of next year, it says. Okay, so what is this thing? It says here, Darkside Collectible Studios is in close collaboration with CBS Studios, and Sir Patrick Stewart presents Captain Jean-Luc Picard, the second statue in the line of captains of the USS Enterprise collection. The first one is Mr. Spock, and I missed that one, and that's awesome. But anyway, with a stunning hyper-realistic likeness of Sir Patrick Stewart as Captain Jean-Luc Picard, the statue is sculpted in a magnificent 1:3 scale featuring 3 alternative poses measuring 65 centimeters or 29.7 inches and is presented in authentically detailed sculpted captain's costume. The first pose captures the iconic "Make It So" engage command. So that's basically he's standing on a base and his fingers are pointing to the future and where we're going and blah blah blah. The second pose captures the love of Picard for tea, Earl Grey, hot, and he's basically cupping a cup of tea in his two hands. And then the third pose captures the fighting spirit of the captain holding his phaser rifle. So he's got like a big gun, chiseled in the highest quality polystone resin, featuring hyper-realistic, lifelike skin details. Each statue is handcrafted to meet the highest collector's standards. Every statue is strictly limited in the number produced and sold to enhance its value and protect your investment. Okay, so that sounds friggin' wonderful. It sounds like I need it. Because I kind of do, and it looks terrific, and it's 2 feet high, and I don't have any 2 feet high statues. That's awesome. Does it say how much it weighs? It probably should. Shipping weight? No, it doesn't. It actually says 0 pounds. So, no idea what the thing actually weighs, but it probably weighs a lot because it's polystone and it's 2 feet high. It's going to be probably like 35 pounds or something. Okay, so how much does this thing cost? Oh my goodness, I want it, but it costs Canadian $1,953.65 or $1,500 USD American price. And you can do a layaway flex plan with 8 monthly payments of $219.72 Canadian with a non-refundable deposit of $195.49. So after payment, after shipping, after any kind of customs and duty thing, this thing would cost me approximately $2,500. Oh my goodness, I want it so bad, but I don't know if I can justify it. I think Julie would kill me if I got it. So it's something to think about for the next few days. Maybe if I make $2,500 in sales at NerdCon, I'll do it, but I don't even know if I brought that much stuff. So that is my dilemma. What do you think I should do? soulforgepodcast@gmail.com. Give me your advice. Or if you'd like to help support me by helping me pay for this thing, you can always go to the coffee account and do a donation. Remember, that's ko-fi.com/rustedsoul. That portal thing there for coffee.com is supposed to be for hosting payments, and you can do as little as $3 a month. But if you want to give me $2,500 to buy this thing, I'd be most grateful, and I don't know what I'll do for you. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I don't expect anything, but maybe there's a rich person listening to it, and they're like, oh yeah, Shawn deserves a nice statue. Here you go. Here's $2,500. So anyway, that's my dilemma today. Oh boy, it looks friggin' fantastic. And it's in the Next Generation Season 3 and above uniform. It would be better if it was in the First Contact uniform, but it still looks friggin' awesome. And it's 2 feet high. Oh my, I want it. Okay, anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's finish the podcast with the Rusted Robot pop culture segment of the week.
You're listening to WBOT Rusted Robot Radio.
Okay, just a couple quick things to talk about before we go. Let's see. First thing that I want to talk about. Do you guys have Netflix? If you do you like Liam Neeson? If you do, check out The Ice Road. I just watched it the other day, and basically it's another one in the saga of Liam Neeson saving the day with his badassery. And he's a trucker, and there's a mine collapse up in, I think, northern Manitoba in Canada at the mine, and I think 26 guys are trapped down there, and so they call reinforcements because they have to cap the well because there was a methane thing, and there's bad guys at the mine who were paying the miners to cut the methane detector. Anyway, bad stuff happens, and he has to drive, well, there's 3 trucks, and they have to drive the ice road, and the ice road actually closed, I think it was March 10th, and it's mid-April in the movie, and all kinds of things happen, and he has to save the day. Does he save the day? What happens to his brother? What happens to the other trucks? Well, you'll just have to watch. I thought it was just going to be a crap-ass movie. It was actually really freaking good and entertaining. So good that I had to tell you guys and girls out there in podcast land, check it out, The Ice Road, Netflix. It just came out this year. I think they just added it probably this past week or two. Next thing, do you remember Night Court from the 80s with Harry Anderson and John Larroquette and Richard Mall and Marsha Warfield and a bunch of other people? Yes, of course you do. It was a great show. I think it ran for 8 or 9 seasons. They're going to reboot it, or continue it, I guess. What's happening is John Larroquette is returning as prosecutor or defense attorney. I can't remember. It's been years and years since I've seen the show, but he's going to reprise his role as Dan Fielding. And guess who is going to be the judge? Well, on the original, it was Harry Anderson who played Judge Stone, and Melissa Rauch. You remember her from The Big Bang Theory? She played Bernadette, Howard's wife. Well, she is going to play the daughter of Harry Stone. She's also on the Night Court, and she was just going to produce the thing, but the script was so good she had to play the role herself. So that's going to come out, well, they don't know. I just read about it the other day, and that could be exciting. So we'll see. Tonight on CTV here in Canada, probably somewhere else in the US, La Brea starts, and I've got it set to record, and basically there's some tar pits or something opens up in LA, and there's an access to a medieval world or something. I'm not even sure, but I'm recording it, and I might watch it, and maybe I'll get 3 episodes in and enjoy it, or maybe not. Who knows? So that's what's going on there. And finally, to finish this off, the big news: the Babylon 5 reboot! Yes. Okay. Now, as many of you know, my favorite show of all time, not including Star Trek, is Babylon 5 from the 90s, written and produced by J. Michael Straczynski, also known as JMS. And as many of you know, Paul and Dan and I from the Cosmic Pizza podcast recently started the Epsilon 3 podcast, which is a Babylon 5 rewatch podcast. And the reason it's called the Epsilon 3 is because there are 3 of us, and the Babylon 5 station orbits the planet Epsilon 3, so it works out perfectly. So news broke the internet yesterday, which was Monday, and it's all over the place, and JMS is returning to reboot the series from the ground up. It's going to be on the CW, which may or may not be a bad thing, I don't know. But he's involved, he's the original creator, he's going to redo the whole thing, and I just read a bunch of articles about it recently. And what's happening is that well, people want him to continue on the story as from the 90s, but the sad thing is, and it's kind of crazy, half of the cast of that show has died. Like, they're gone. And that show was on in the 90s. And if you compare it to the original Star Trek show from the 60s, let's see, there were 7 main cast members. 3 of them are dead. There's still 4 alive from the 60s. But with Babylon 5, from 30 years later, more than half of the cast is dead, which is very sad. So they can't really redo that show. So what he wants to do is recast it, have it for a modern age with today's struggles and commentary on today's life and whatever. So he's going to totally redo the whole thing. We don't know when it's coming out. We don't know who's going to be in it. I read some stuff from Claudia Christian, who played Susan Ivanova in the original, and it sounds like she's going to be in the show as well. Nothing's confirmed, but if that's the case, that would be awesome, because on a recent episode of Cosmic Pizza Podcast, before the Epsilon 3 debuted, we did a let's recast Babylon 5, and we recast all the characters except for Susan Ivanova, because we used Claudia Christian in the same role. So that might be a thing. That would be friggin' awesome. She's gorgeous. She could still play the role. She's awesome. I follow her on Facebook, and if you haven't watched Babylon 5, you totally should. HBO remastered the effects a few months back, and apparently it's spectacular. I still have the DVD box set from, I think, 2003-ish. So anyway, this is exciting. Lots of people aren't excited because, why are you rebooting it? You're going to ruin my childhood. But no, the original's still there. You can watch the new stuff. It's going to be awesome, and I'm excited, and I love the show, and yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Anyway, I'll bring you further news as it develops. Did I talk about William Shatner going to space? William Shatner played Captain Kirk in Star Trek, and he's 90, and next month he's going on the Blue Origin spacecraft with Jeff Bezos of Amazon fame, and that's what's happening. Did I talk about that? I can't remember. I talk about so many things. I don't know if I talked about it on this show, on the Cosmic Pizza Podcast show, just to people I know. Who knows? Anyway, that doesn't matter. That's basically what I wanted to talk about this week. I hope you were entertained. I hope I wasn't too rambly. I hope I'm not talking too fast. Anyway, I better go because I have things to do. What have I got to do? I've got to find my banners and stuff for the podcast so I can have that at NerdCon. Anyway, if you're in the Sioux, come by my booth. Check it out. Say hi. That would be awesome. Other than that, I hope you guys take care. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you again next week. Make sure you're following Cosmic Pizza Podcast. Make sure you're following, what's the other one? The Epsilon 3. And I wanted to thank Bill again for the recent feedback. Once again, that's soulforgepodcast@gmail.com. And Stephen Jarman from the A Play on Nerds Network. You've mentioned me in several of your recent episodes. Thank you very much. If you're not checking out the A Play on Nerds network of podcasts, you should because they're awesome. Anyway, that's all I got to say for now. Take care, and remember, a wise person knows there is something to be learned from everyone. Only fools think they know everything. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Soul Forge Podcast. Your support is greatly appreciated, and we hope you'll tune in again next time. Remember that you can visit soulforgepodcast.com for all of our social media links, and don't forget to share the show with everyone you know. The Soul Forge Podcast is your best source for living your best life.
Think about it.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.